Hey everybody! Welcome to the channel and welcome to the new series on our airplane build vlog. Today we'll be covering how to build the EAA Chapter 1000 workbench tables. When we're done, we should have a table that looks just like this. The instructions will be linked down below in the information for the video. You get just enough materials to build two tables, and they make great workbenches, and you can relocate them as needed to build different airplane parts, and I've been getting a ton of use out of them. They're fantastic, they're great, I love them, and without further ado, here's the build. A lot of what we have to do has to do with cutting wood, and whenever you cut wood, you want to make sure you always measure twice and cut once. I like to use previously cut pieces for comparison and to make sure everything is still lining up symmetrically so that when we assemble, everything is still square and we get a perfectly flat and symmetrical table. Unfortunately, when I streamed this on Twitch, I wasn't fully aware of where the camera was pointing, and I'll correct it later, but you can't really see what I'm doing right now. Basically what's going on is that I'm preparing to assemble the basic framework for the table among which everything will be built up. I use a very flat surface to make sure I get a perfectly even build, and I use a square angle to make sure everything is squared and has perfect 90-degree angles. A step a lot of people overlook when making a wood frame or any kind of wood building is that they don't use wood glue, and wood glue is really critical because what it does is it really bonds the wood pieces together. Your screws are holding it together, but the wood glue is what gives you the structural rigidity and basically prevents the wood from having any play once it's built, and it makes a really big difference to overall fit and finish of the final piece. You don't have a good view of it here, but what I'm doing is I'm laying out my center sections that are going to add rigidity to the square frame or rectangular frame, and I'm actually marking the frame with a pencil so that I know where exactly to place these pieces again after I add the wood glue, which really makes it a lot quicker to put everything back together and then insert my screws and really finish it up and finish it true. And here you can really see me applying the wood glue, and we get a surprise visit from our stream mascot, Chloe. Here we're preparing to attach what's going to end up being the top of the table. I flipped over to use this true side based on the floor, and then I fit the top of the table. After the test fitting, now we're ready to apply wood glue to our frame and then to attach the top of the table. I had a little bit of difficulty getting the table to really stay square, so what I did to work around this is I lined up one corner, inserted one screw, and then I lined up the rest of the table on that single pivot point so that I could make sure it stays true as I attach the rest of the screw to secure the top of the table to the lower framework. And what do you know? It's starting to look like a table without legs. Here I'm taking the time to really clean up the glue and to make an edge, almost like a caulking edge, with the overflow of the glue so that we have a nice, good, clean finish. And this is important later because when we place the woods into these corners for the legs, if that glue was there, it would not allow it to rest square in that corner. Again, measure twice, cut once, and use your old pieces for comparison. Cause I saw the text on your phone and it's hard to say. One mistake that I feel I made was that I used too many screws when securing the legs, because these legs get a lot of doublers and a lot of additional structural strength as you build the table up. But since I didn't know that at the time, I wanted to make sure it was a very sturdy table, and these legs looked a little slim. Even though I had read the instructions, in my head, I just wanted more screws, and I probably overdid it with the screws here. Here we're cutting out and measuring the fit of the first set of doublers to make sure everything looks square, they're all the same size, and they fit right in the nook where we want to place them at the right height. As always, wood glue is critical, and I like to use this spiral pattern to make sure I get a nice even coat across all the pieces.
If time stood still and I could see you again, then I would keep you with me, yeah. 'Cause I don't wanna live in a world without you. No, I don't wanna live in a world without you. No, I don't wanna live.
Two of my favorite features about these tables is how sturdy they are when they're completed, and the extra storage space that they give you. A big part of that is having these doublers made in the particular format that they're done to create additional shelving where you place another layer of plywood inside nested that basically serves as a shelf for any pieces you need to store, any smaller items you need during the build, any additional tools so you don't have to have a separate tool rack. They're really fantastic, well thought out tables, and I think this is one of the best features. And because we double up the legs and add this additional outside bracing, it makes the tables really sturdy. When working with wood, it's a natural component, so it's really important to try and find the best fit you can. Sometimes just turning a piece around does that. And that's what I'm doing here. I turn the piece around, I find the best fit, and then I attach it. As always, I use wood glue. These interior pieces you see me cutting now and fitting ended up being a little more difficult in the long term because when I tried to actually attach them, I had a little bit of difficulty getting this frame to stay square, and I actually had to squeeze it together a little bit, and with only one person that was a little difficult. You see me reaching over with one hand and trying to really push it together. Unfortunately, right around here, I had some alerts. I moved the camera and I didn't realize that the laptop screen has shifted, and unfortunately, all you see is the top of my head for a little bit.
I drove myself crazy thinking you take my wildest dreams and tear them all to the ground. So I tried to create a decoy world for you to destroy.
For those of you that are wondering what's displayed on the screen, I do a monthly giveaway of a video game, usually a Steam game, of the winner's choice. So if you catch me on stream, you can enter. All you have to do is follow my channel and you'll get a free ticket, and it's a free game potentially. This small piece you catch a glimpse here is the second leg doubler that goes on the bottom half of the leg. And while it looks small, it serves a very critical purpose of making sure your legs are basically two 2x4s completely put together with extra framing that keeps the table super square, super stiff, and really, really stable. And voila! Not only does it look like a table, but I just figured I had screwed up the camera. Here I'm placing the bottom piece of plywood. An important note about this bottom piece of plywood is because it's usually used for storage, you can use a cheaper cut of plywood with not a fine sanded finish and just a regular piece of plywood and even a thinner piece of plywood. That'll save you a little bit of money over the overall cost of both tables.
So I ran to all the preachers despite having every reason to shut down and mobilize. So I pray to the gods for one last saving grace.
And there you go, a completed table. But we're not done yet. We want to make sure we use this little bit of vinyl trim to really finish the edge of the plywood so that we don't get any splinters or hurt ourselves whenever we're building and walking around the table and like rubbing up against it. The one thing to note is it's a trade-off on what you do with the edge of the table. Some people like to keep the top of the table a little bit larger than the actual table so you can use clamps on that edge. I personally like the vinyl finish, and if I need to clamp anything down, I use big C-clamps for that. The trim is attached with finishing nails that basically are invisible once you hammer them in, and you want to hammer them in gently so that you don't crush the vinyl trim. And we officially have our first table. Look at that, ain't she a beauty? Of course, always clean up after yourself, clean up your workshop, clean up your tools, put everything away in an organized manner so you can find it again and so it's ready to go the next time you have another project. In case you guys were wondering, the reason I had those pallets on the floor is they served as an elevated platform for me to cut the 2x4s without having to worry about my saw hitting the ground. Don't forget to clean up your floor. Thank you for watching, please hit like or subscribe. I plan to put out one of these videos at least once every 2 weeks for the rest of the build until I'm caught up with videos, and we should be ordering the wing kit starting here at the end of February 2021, and we'll be building the wing throughout the summer and the fall. Thank you again, have a great day, and don't forget, merch link in bio.